And joining us now here on the program, he is the president of Field Solutions with Intent. Kevin Heikes is with us here today. Kevin, great to have you on the show. Welcome in. I hope you're doing well.
Jesse, thanks for having me. I've enjoyed the conversation so far and excited to talk more about intent and innovation in agriculture with you today.
Yeah, we were chatting a little bit off air before we jumped on here live, and I appreciate the time and really, thinking about intent and some of the things you guys are doing when it comes to agricultural innovation. Let's back up and start. I know you gave me a little bit of a rundown before we jumped on air, but give us a little bit of background into intent and some of the details about the company, real quick.
Certainly, Jesse. We were founded in 2016, and we're a data and insights organization. And really, it's been an evolution. And being an entrepreneur and following this, it's been a lot of fun. And so the thing is, when we started in 2016 and we talk about innovation, the one thing that we've learned is that it has to start with the farmer. And so we started in 2016 and ran less than 25 field trials. And what we found out is that's extremely challenging. But over the last several years, we've been able to develop a process and a platform to make that much more efficient. So really what we do is we help agribusinesses and clients bring their innovations to the farm. The farmers are seeing lots and lots of new products, and we've tried to streamline that process. We make it easier for companies, and we also make it easier for the farmers.
I think that's really cool. You guys are kind of helping bridge that gap between, farmers and ranchers and all this new technology that's being thrown at them. And I think, Kevin, technology, innovation in agriculture, it's just becoming so much more important by the day. Why do you think farmers should be really involved in this process of innovation in agriculture?
Well, the first thing that I would say, and someone that grew up in agriculture and grew up on a farm, and even today, my dad reminds me that the farmer has to be, it's easy to say the farmer has to be the center of the innovation circle, right? But I think there's a lot of people in this industry that talk about farmers, and I don't know how many are actually talking to farmers. And so even my dad and farmers that I talk to all the time remind me that we need to understand which of these innovations will work. So we've taken this farmer-centric approach. And when you think about when we started with just field trials, we helped companies say, we're going to go to the field, we're going to test products. But the most important thing is that we listen to farmers. And I think that there's been so many times where maybe products are invented and they're a good product, but then they go right to the sell to farmers. And if you're thinking about innovation and you talk about iteration, all the things that have to happen, you have to listen to the farmers and you have to go through the entire journey to understand what products are going to work and how are they going to work at the farm. So I think that's the number one thing. I think the other thing is when you think about farmers and why it's important is there's a ton of variability. You can't look at a farm, and you grew up in Iowa, you can't look at a farm in Iowa and I live in Kansas and compare it to a farm in Kansas. We're approaching things different. Environmental conditions are different, market conditions are different, what we grow are different. And so I think those are all things. And when I look at our platform of how we ingest environmental data and market data, and we help farmers understand what works, and what works in Iowa may not work as well in Kansas. And I think those things are important for the farmer, but they're also important for the organizations and companies that are bringing these products to market. So I think those are some of the most important things.
Well, and that's a great point you make. And I mean, honestly, I'll take that a step further. Differences between a farm, say between Iowa and Kansas, there might be differences between a farm field across the road. That's how hyper local some things can get here in agriculture. But the beauty is technology is helping us to advance further. And I'm sure some of the different things that you guys are working on at Intent, some of the different field trials, et cetera, recently are all part of that equation, Kevin.
I'll give you an example. I think this really resonates to your point. When we launched the business and we started connecting farmers to agribusinesses, the number one thing that farmers will tell a company is they're not afraid to pay for a product. I just want to know that it's going to work on my farm. So when a farmer logs into the Envision platform today, I call it the money shot. And this is what we saw in 2016. And I will tell you that this was done very manual back in the day. But when a farmer can see all their layers, here's my field, here's my sorghum layers, here's where I planted, here's where I applied, farmers started to say, this is what's really important. And then you go in and clean that data and say, here's where the product was, here's where the product was not. And they could see product performance. That was number one. But then we broke it down and said by soil type, how they could understand that. And I think just that, we call it view field. It's a very, very simple concept, but that happened in 2016. And to this day, farmers will tell us that that is the most important thing, that they can be able to go in and look at product performance by environmental conditions. It just hasn't changed, and that's what they're looking for.
Kevin, that's a great example as we look out to the future here, the next 5 to 10 years. In your eyes, and with the company with intent, where do you see precision ag innovation going here in the next 5 to 10 years? What are some things that farmers really need to kind of maybe keep on their mind and look at here on the horizon?
I'd love to tell you that it's going to be easy, but I've been at this for 25 years. And the one thing that I've seen with innovation is that you have to solve real farmers' problems. And I think that sometimes that we don't understand what that horizon is. And so the question is, why does it take so long in agriculture? The reason is that the life cycle of, you're going to plant corn once, hopefully once, maybe twice a year. You're going to sell cattle once, twice a year. So I think when you look at those things, knowing that we don't get the chance to iterate on like you would a technology platform, that's the number one thing. There's not a magic bullet. I think that's the thing that we always look at. If I just apply this changes my entire operation. And as we look at data and the things that we continue to encourage farmers is, you got to collect the data, you've got to look at it, but there isn't necessarily a magic bullet. And the other thing that I come back to and I think about, as simple as something that my dad would say, there's art and science. My dad goes out and walks the fields every day, and he wonders, what in the heck do I do with all this technology stuff? And I have friends that live in Silicon Valley that work for startups that are building algorithms and models and doing some of the coolest things that you can imagine, bringing ideas and principles from other industries, but they've never met a farmer. And so where intent has had success, and I think where the innovation cycle continues to kind of meet, is where you bring these art and science elements together. You have to appreciate those farmers that walk the field, but we also have to know that you can't walk every field every single day. So we got to bring those two pieces together. And that investment in continuous learning is where I see success. And then making sure that companies that have these cool products can get on farm and use a process like the intent process and the Vision Trials platform to make this more efficient.
Well, Kevin, I'm sure if farmers, agribusinesses want to learn more about the things you guys do at intent.ag, probably a great place to start, isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You can follow us on social, but go to intent.ag and put your email address in there. The worst thing that would happen is you'd be able to learn about all the new companies and innovations that you could test. The last thing that I'd say from a value proposition is that one, farmers tell us they get to understand what products work. But number two is that they are compensated. These trials are hard, so they're compensated for their time. So jump into intent.ag to sign up.
Well, Kevin, we appreciate the time. Thank you for joining us here today on the show, and we'll look forward to hopefully talking again in the future. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Jesse. Appreciate it.